Not related to today's talk, but if it's possible, I would appreciate it. My first question is, if I could feel being one with other beings and those can feel one, why we still feel I am in the sense of different beings? I mean, after total collapsion of this body, how I, as I am, would consciously grasp you as I am. Is it also a state after death that must collapse to reach highest consciousness, who call God, and not different I consciousness knowing they are one? I can't really decipher your question. So I'll just answer it in the way in which I think you're asking. So I'll just answer what I think you're asking me. So, like with the I am, we think that there is an I am that's inside the heart or inside the body. And normally it goes, I am Lisa, I am Simin, I am Roger, I am Khaleesi. But there is this I am which is prior to knowing who it is. It's just this sense of being, or amness, this sense of existence. And everybody has it now. There's this sense of existence and there's this empty looking. And we think that the I am arises in the body. And some teachers teach that way, but it's just because we're teaching in different ways. It doesn't mean that they're wrong and I'm right, or I'm wrong and they're right. And we think that this I am is inside the body. And we think that the looking is inside the body. But this is a deception that comes from this continuous story of I am Lisa, or I am Roger, or I am Hannah. Actually, what's happening is the empty looking is actually, in fact, in all places and is everything we see. And that sense of being is also in all places and in everything we see. And that's happening right now. But what happens is there's this energetic contraction that owns the I am and says, I am alive, like me, Lisa, is alive, and I am looking, and it pulls it inside the body. Whereas in actual experience, that I am and that empty looking isn't anywhere. It is everything that's arising. This doesn't make sense conceptually at all. It's an energetic shift. It's knowing. It's an energetic shift. It's not intellectual. That the I am and that sense of looking is everywhere. The I am is love, by the way, so it's like love is everywhere, and the empty looking is kind of this wisdom or this purity, and that is also everywhere. And they come together, they're like the yin and the yang sign. This is my interpretation of saying it. From my experience, it doesn't fit in with other people's way of saying it. So that's how you experience non-separation, as well as appearing as a separate person, because in that, so there is this, the I am and the looking is everywhere, and in that appears somebody called Lisa, a character. So there appears to be someone that's separate, but it's appearing in my essence, and my essence isn't separate. I know that's super complex. Second question is, if we are consciousness, are aware of our minds and can see as consciousness observers, what our overtrained minds by education and tradition bring up in response to all the events, merely good or bad reactions, aren't we in the place of conscious acting to dampen the bad vibrations and results, or retrain our brain in a good way to bring better outcomes in a conscious way? Aren't we in the place of authority between compulsion like consciousness power that comes to dynamic creation. Oh, sorry, everyone, I'm just going to have to read that again in my mind. You're personifying consciousness. So you believe that consciousness can act. Consciousness can't act, it's watching. It can't say, oh, mind, you're doing bad things there, or you need to have better vibrations. It's simply watching and experiencing. So the one that's thinking and wanting to act better or wanting to have more conscious experiences is being experienced. That's really hard to digest because we personify everything. So the imagination that consciousness is nothing, not a thing, and that the amness is not a thing is really hard for us to imagine. And we always think that if we become more conscious, then we can act differently. But who is this we that would become more conscious? Consciousness is simply looking. So anyone that's trying to be more conscious will always be a person in time. It doesn't mean that that negates acting nicer as the person. But there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's advisable to try to be a nicer, more conscious, open person. But all of that is being watched by something that isn't moving, that's perfectly still.